Hello and welcome to Toy and Stitches. In this video, we're going to be making a hexagon cardigan that is a mix of double crochet and granny stitch. So if you're up for adding another hexagon cardigan to your collection, then let's dive in. To make my cardigan, I am using a 100% acrylic worsted weight yarn, and with that, I am using a 6mm hook. You're also going to need your tape measure, scissors, a couple of stitch markers, and your tapestry needle. I will leave all the supplies in the description as well as details on the yarn and how much I used. So go ahead and grab your supplies and let's get started. To start our hexagon, we have to create a ring or a circle in which to work into. So it's just like working with a granny square. I'm going to show you two ways to do this. So the first way is we're going to make a slip knot. And we're going to place that slip knot on our hook. And then we will chain 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And now we're going to work a slip stitch into the first chain. So insert your hook into the first chain, yarn over, pull up a loop, and pull through the loop on your hook to secure. And then now you will have a little ring in which you can work into. And this one is good because then there's no chance of the tail coming out and then opening up the center of your work. So then you would just chain 3, yarn over, and insert directly into the ring created by making the chain 4 and then slip stitching to the first chain. So that's the first way. Now the second way is how I usually do it, and that's by making a magic ring. Whenever I'm making, especially the hexagon cardigans, I leave a really long tail just to ensure that I can secure it really well. And to make my magic ring, I leave a really long tail, and now I'm going to drape that tail over my fingers. I'm going to take the working end and I'm going to bring it around my first 2 fingers and then create an X on the back of my fingers, then flip my hand over, and with my ring finger I'm going to secure the tail and the working end. Now I'm going to take my hook, insert under this first loop, and grab the second loop, pull it forward under that first loop, and then pull up and twist away from me to create a loop on my hook. Now I'm going to grab the working end and pull it through that loop to create a chain 1 to secure the circle. So you can start in whichever manner you're most comfortable with. So now that I have my magic ring ready to go, I have 1 chain already. Now I'm going to chain 2 more, so I have a chain 3 to start my round. Now I'm going to work 2 more double crochet into my ring. So here's 1 and 2. And now I'm going to chain 2. Now for the rest of round 1, what we're going to do is work 3 double crochet, chain 2, 3 double crochet, chain 2. So we already have 1 set of 3 double crochet and a chain 2. So we need to do 3 double crochet, chain 2, 5 more times. So I'm going to do it once more with you. So here's 1, 2, and 3 double crochets, and now I chain 2. So that is my second one. So now I need 4 more. So continue working 3 double crochets, then chaining 2 until you have 6 sets of 3 double crochet. So I'm going to continue working, and then I'll meet you when I'm ready to finish off round 1. Okay, so I'm almost finished with round 1. I'm just going to count how many sets I have before I close the round. So this was where we started. So that was the chain 3 and 3. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and this one counts as 6. And how many corners? So chain 2 spaces. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So now to finish my round, I need to chain 2 and then slip stitch. So I chain 2, and now I'm going to slip stitch to the top of the chain 3 to close round 1. Now I'm going to pull on my tail to close the center. And now to start round 2, and for every other round, we need to start in a corner. So in order to get into this corner here, I'm going to work a slip stitch in the top of the next 2 stitches and then into the chain 2 space. So into the next stitch, I'm going to insert and work a slip stitch, into the next stitch, work a slip stitch, now into the chain 2 space. I'm going to insert my hook and work a slip stitch. And now that we're in the corner, we're ready to start round 2. So for round 2, we're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3. And beside this chain 3, we're going to work 2 more double crochets. So insert and work a double crochet. That's 1 and 2. And now we're working a corner, and because we're doing the mixed hexagon, so this is going to count as a corner for our granny stitch side. So now this side will be a solid side of just double crochet. So on this side of the corner, we're going to chain 2, and on this side, we're only going to work 2 double crochets. So here's 1 and 2. And now on this side, we're going to work a double crochet in the top of the next 3 stitches. So just make sure we're not missing the top of this first stitch here. So yarn over, insert into this first stitch, work a double crochet, and that's 2, and now 3. And now to finish this side of our solid side, we need to work 2 double crochet, chain 2, and then 3 double crochet. So we're going to yarn over into the chain 2 space, work 2 double crochets, chain 2, and now this side is going to be a granny stitch side, so we're going to work 3 double crochet on this half of the corner. So that's 1, 2, and 3. And now because this is the side of our granny stitch, we're going to chain 1, skip over these 3 double crochets, and then start working into our next corner. So I'm going to chain 1 and now start working directly into my corner. I'm going to work 3 double crochets. It's 1, 2, and 3. Chain 2. And now this side is going to be another solid side, so we're going to work 2 double crochet on this half of the corner. So here's 1 and 2, and now we're going to work into the top of the next 3 stitches. Sometimes you have to pull your stitches from the corner over a little bit so you can get to the top of that first stitch, because we don't want to miss that stitch. And now we're in another corner. We're going to work 2 double crochets. That's 1, 2, chain 2. And now we're on another side where we're going to do the granny stitch. So we're going to work 3 double crochets. So here's 1, 2, and 3. And now we're going to chain 1 and then work directly into our next corner. So chain 1, skip over these 3 double crochet and work directly into our next corner. So we'll work 3 double crochets, 1, 2, and 3. And now we're going to chain 2, 1, 2, and we're going to work another solid side. So now we're going to work 2 double crochets, and now 1 double crochet in the top of the next 3 stitches. And now into our final corner, we're going to work 2 double crochets, 1, 2, chain 2. And to finish off, this side is a side for our granny stitch. So we need to work 3 double crochets on this side of the corner. And to finish off our round 2, I won't work a chain 1 over these 3 double crochets, because I find when I work a chain 1 and then a slip stitch, it makes the space between our clusters a little bit bigger than the rest of them. So I just go straight and work a slip stitch to close the round. So that's the only time in the round where I won't work a chain one over a cluster. So I'm just going to slip stitch to the top of my chain 3 to close round 2. So for round 3, we need to get back to our corner. So we're going to slip stitch into the top of the next 2 stitches, 1, 2, and then we need to go into our corner and work a slip stitch. Now we're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and this is our granny stitch side, so we need to work 2 more double crochets beside this chain 3. So this is 1 and 2. So now we have 3, so now we will chain 2. And on this side, we have solid just double crochet stitches. So we need to work 2 double crochets on this side of the corner. So here is 1 and 2. And now we need to work a double crochet in the top of each stitch all the way across. Now we should have 7 because each row is going to grow by 4 stitches, but we always want to make sure we're not missing this first stitch. So if you have to pull your stitches over so you can clearly find the top of the stitch, don't forget to do that. So let's work into this first stitch here. And now we're going to work into each stitch until we get to our next corner. And now we're in our corner, we're going to work 2 double crochet on the first half of the corner to finish off this solid side. Now we will chain 2 and we're going to work 3 double crochet into the same chain 2 space. All right, and now we have a cluster here, so we need to work into this space. So we will chain 1 and work into this chain 1 space, 3 double crochets, 1, 2, 3. Now we're going to chain 1 again, and we will be in our next corner. So we're going to work 3 double crochets, 1, 2, 3, chain 2, 1, 2, and now we're going to work 2 double crochet in the same chain 2 space. Now we'll work 1 double crochet in the top of each stitch all the way across this side until we get to our next corner. Just be sure you don't miss that first stitch. Now we're in our next corner, we're going to work 2 double crochets, 1, 2, chain 2, and 3 double crochet, 1, 2, 3. And now this is the side for our granny stitch. We're going to chain 1, work 3 double crochet into this chain 1 space here, chain 1, and now we're in our next corner. So we'll work 3 double crochets, 1, 2, and 3. And now we'll chain 2, 1, 2, work 2 double crochets, and then work 1 double crochet in each stitch all the way across to our final corner. Now to finish our final corner, we're going to work 2 double crochets, 1, 2, chain 2, 3 double crochets, 1, 2, 3, chain 1, work into this chain 1 space here, 1, 2, and 3. And now we won't chain 1, we're just going to slip stitch to the top of the chain 3 from the beginning of the round, and that will end round 3. And that's how we're going to continue working until our piece is as large as we need it to be. So I will start round 4 with you. I'll work 2 sides and then I'll leave you to finish off round 4. So we're going to get into our corner by slip stitching into the top of the next 2 stitches. That's 1, 2, and now into our chain space and work a slip stitch. Now that we're in our corner, we chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and work 2 double crochets, 1, 2, chain 2, and then another 2 double crochets, 1, 2, and now we're going to work a double crochet in each stitch all the way across to our next corner. Okay, so now I'm in my second corner. I'm going to work 2 double crochets. That's 1, 2. Now I'm going to chain 2, 1, 2, work 3 double crochets, 1, 2, 3. Now I'm going to chain 1, work 3 double crochet in this chain 1 space, I'm going to chain 1, work 3 double crochet in the next chain 1 space, now I'm going to chain 1 and work into my next corner, 1, 2, 3 double crochet, chain 2, and now 2 double crochets. And that's how you're going to continue working around. So you're going to work a double crochet in each stitch all the way across this side. For this corner, you're going to work 2 double crochet, chain 2, 3 double crochet. Then you're going to do your chain 1, work into the chain 1 spaces, and then you'll be into the next corner and continue all the way around. So go ahead and do that, and I'll meet you at the end of the round. Okay, so I'm at the end of the round. I'm just going to slip stitch to the top of my chain 3 to finish off this round. So from this point, you will just continue working as we have been doing until your piece is as large as you need it to be. However, I'm going to go and I'm going to work a few rounds just so it's easier for you to see how I measure it out so I know when to stop working. So I'm going to work a few rounds and then I'll come back and show you how to measure things out. Okay, so I've worked a few more rows, and now what I do to measure it out is I fold it into my little half sweater shape. So how you do that, you're going to grab 2 corners and you're going to fold those corners until they meet like this, and then the rest of it will sort of just fall into place and create this half sweater shape here. So from this point, what I do is I measure out my armhole depth because that's how I measure it. So I'll continue working until the arm section is from top to the center, as deep as I want my armhole depth to be. So right now I am up to 4 inches and I'm going to work until I've hit 7 inches. So I will just continue working my rounds until when my piece is folded like this, from the top of the piece to the center point here, it's 7 inches. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And once I hit 7 inches, then I'll come back and we'll move on to the next step. Okay, I have worked until I've achieved my armhole depth. And the reason why I always start with my armhole depth is because it's a lot harder to adjust the sleeve on the Hexagon cardigan than any other sleeve because you're making the entire piece in one go. And once you stop, the sleeve is the size that it is. You have to undo everything in order to readjust your sleeve section. So I always ensure that I have the armhole depth and the size of the sleeve the way I want it before I move on. I am making my piece a little bit more fitted versus very oversized. So my piece looks very small right now, but I'm going to add some inches to the bust and the hemline to make it the size that I want it. If you would like yours to be oversized, you would just continue working until it's about the size that you want it, and then we can move on from there. Once I've achieved my armhole depth, my next step is to find the beginning of my round. And I'm going to continue folding and refolding until I have where I'm going to start my next round coming down the front of the cardigan. And I do that because I haven't fastened off. And if you want to have a different section at the top here and you're folding it and it's not coming together, just fasten off and then we'll just start the next round. But from this point, I'm going to continue working in half rounds. I'm just not going to add to the top. I'm going to show you how to do this. So I just always like to have the beginning of my round in the front coming down the front of the cardigan. So I folded it and now I'm going to pin my shoulder. I'm not sewing it together just yet. I like to add my inches to the bust before sewing everything together, just to make sure everything is the size I want it before I sew it together. So if I need to undo anything to make adjustments, I haven't sewn it together. So I'm going to grab some stitch markers and I'm going to pin the last stitch on the shoulder to the last one on the back. And then I'm just going to add some stitch markers just across just to keep it together as I'm continuing to work. Okay, I've pinned the shoulder together, so now I'm just going to turn my piece and I'm going to start in my corner here. And now what I'm going to do, I'm going to start working in sort of half rounds. I'm going to work down the front, around the hemline and come back up in the back. Then I'm going to turn my work and go in the reverse because I don't want to add anything else to the sleeve section. Okay, so in order to go down the front, I'm going to work 2 slip stitches into the chain 2 space because I want to come up on this side. I'm not adding anything more to this side of the cardigan. So I'm going to work 1 slip stitch and then a second slip stitch. And now I'm going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3. This is going to count as a double crochet, and this is my row of double crochet. So I'm going to work 1 more double crochet right in this corner here. And now, like before, I'm going to work a double crochet in the top of this stitch and each stitch all the way down. So work a double crochet here. And then I'm going to work a double crochet all the way down until I get to this corner, and I'm going to meet you here. Okay, so I've come up to my next corner, so we're going to continue working just like we have been before. I'm going to work into this corner, 2 double crochet, chain 2, 3 double crochet, then I will work across in my granny stitch pattern. Then I'll get to this corner where I'll work the corner just like before. That will bring me up this side, and I will work until I get to this corner right where I've now met my other stitch marker. So I'm just going to continue working around like I would have, and I'm going to meet you here to turn and come back. All right, I've made it to the shoulder on the back half of the cardigan. So now to finish off this row, I'm going to work 2 double crochet into the chain 2 space, and then I'm going to turn my work. So I'm going to work 2, that's 1 and 2, and now I'm going to turn my work. And from this point, we're only going to be doing turned rows. So in this stitch, I'm going to work just 1 stitch, 1 stitch, 1 stitch going down. We will still increase in our corners, but just once we get to the end of the row, we won't do any increase because we want the shoulder to start coming straight across versus having it extend into a corner. So now I'm going to work a stacked single crochet in my corner, or alternately, you could just chain 1 and work a double crochet, or chain 2 and work a double crochet. However you like to finish off your rows or start your rows of double crochet, you can do that here. So I'm going to work a stacked single crochet. So I'm just going to insert into my first stitch, work a single crochet, and then into the side of that stitch, I'm going to insert my hook, pull up a loop, and work another single crochet. And now I'm going to work 1 stitch in each double crochet all the way down until I get to my corner, and then continue coming around until I get back around to the front of the cardigan. So go ahead and do that, and I'll meet you when I get to the end of the row. I'm coming up to the end of the row, and I just have to work 1 last stitch. Just making sure I don't miss the chain 3 from the beginning of the row. And that is the end of the row. So I've added 2 rows, and now I'm just going to lay my piece down, measure it out, and see how far I am from my desired bust measurement. All right, so I've laid my piece down, and just to compare, when we stopped, my sleeve was 7 inches, and this should be about 8 because from just working, I know I have about 2 inches, 2 rows per inch, so I should be at about 8 inches, so that's good. So now my bust measurement is 35, and I'm adding in 3 inches of positive ease, so I'm working to a total bust measurement of 38 inches. And just always keep in mind that this accounts for half of your bust measurement. So this side of the cardigan accounts for half of your bust measurement. So I'm measuring 8 here, but that would be a total of 16 inches because then we have to account for the back section as well because this is folded in half. So I'm at 8 inches. So what I'm going to do now is, just like we did before, I'm going to add 2 more rows, just working down the front and the hemline. And once I've done that, then I'll come back and show you how to finish off this half of the cardigan. Okay, so I've worked my 2 rows, and now this half is almost finished. My next step is going to be to work 2 rows down the back of the cardigan just to allow for some space around the back of the neck. At this point, we just need to decide which side of the body this is going to be on. I'm just going to call this the right side of my cardigan. So I'm going to turn my work, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to work one row down and then back up, and then that will be the end of this half of the cardigan. All we'll have to do on this half is just to work the sleeve. So I'm going to just insert my hook into my little loop here, and I'm going to work one row down, and I'll meet you when I get to the corner to show you how to finish off this row and turn. So I'm going to work down, and I'll meet you when I get to this corner here. I'm coming up to the corner, and now in order to end this row, we're going to work 2 double crochet into the corner here. So just into the chain 2 space, we're going to work 2 double crochets. That's 1, 2, and now we're going to turn and go back up. So now I'm going to turn my work, and I'm going to start my row with my stacked single crochet, but you can start your work, your row, however you prefer. And now I'm going to work all the way back up, and then I will fasten off. So I'll meet you at the end of the row. All right, so I'm just about finished with my row, and now I will fasten off here, and the next step will be to sew up the arm. So right across the shoulder here, we're going to sew that up, ensuring we leave the last 2 rows that we worked down the back. We're not going to sew into that. So you just sew it all together, and then it's going to sit like this. So you're going to have 2 rows that we don't work into, and we're going to sew all the way across the top of the shoulder and the arm. Once I have that sewn together, then I'll come back and we will extend our sleeve. To extend my sleeve, I'm going to be working alternating sections of granny stitch and then double crochet. You can, however, work your sleeve in either just granny stitch or just double crochet. That's up to you, but I am going to be working with both. So to start, I'm going to start off with the granny stitch. So I'm going to grab my yarn, and I'm going to find the seam along my shoulder. I'm going to make a slip knot, and I'm going to place that slip knot on my hook. And now I'm going to find the first double crochet. So where we seam the arm together, we have the 2 corners. I'm just going to find the double crochet on the left side. And I'm going to start with a standing double crochet. So I already have a loop on my hook. Now I'm going to yarn over my hook and hold onto the loop with my finger. Now I'm going to insert my hook into the first stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, holding onto the tail. Now I'm going to yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So that's my first double crochet. Now I'm going to work 2 more double crochet into this same stitch. So I'm going to yarn over, insert into the stitch, work a double crochet, and then again into the same stitch and work a double crochet. And there I have 3 double crochets. So that's my first cluster. Now I'm going to skip the next 2 stitches and work 3 double crochet into the next stitch. So skip 2 stitches and then 3 double crochet into the next stitch. And again, skip 2 stitches, 3 double crochet into the next stitch. And you're going to do that all the way around. So continue doing that, and I'll meet you at the end of the round. I'm coming up to the end of the round. I have 2 stitches left. Now I will skip these 2 stitches and then slip stitch to the top of my first double crochet to close the round. Now I'm going to chain 3 to start round 2. So that's 1, 2, 3. And now I'm going to work directly into the space between the next 2 clusters. So that's 1, 2. I'm going to work 3 double crochet into this space. And now I'm going to work 3 double crochet into each space all the way around until I get to the end of the round. So go ahead and do that, and I'll meet you at the end of the round. Okay, to finish off round 2, I'm going to work 2 double crochet into the space behind the chain 3 from the beginning of the round. And that's 2. And now I'm going to slip stitch to the top of the chain 3. And that completes round 2. And now for round 3, I'm going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and work 2 double crochet into this space. And that's 1 and 2. And now I will work 3 double crochet in each space all the way around. So go ahead and do that, and I'll meet you at the end of the round. I'm at the end of round 3 and now I have one more round of granny stitch to work. So I'm just going to slip stitch to the top of the chain 3. And now I'm going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and I will work 3 stitch double crochet in each space all the way around like we have been doing. So I'm going to work this final row of granny stitch and I'll meet you at the end of the round. I'm just finishing off round 4. And now for our next 4 rounds, we're going to be working double crochet stitches. So to start our next round, I am going to chain 2. 1, 2. This chain 2 is not going to count as a stitch. It's just going to fill the space. Because when working double crochet in the round using a chain 3, there is always a space between the chain 3 and the next stitch, and I don't necessarily like to see the space. So I chain 2, and then now I'm going to work a double crochet directly into the top of the chain 3. It's sometimes a little tricky, but there we go. So now this double crochet is my first stitch, and now I'm going to work 1 double crochet in the top of each stitch all the way around. So go ahead and work 1 stitch, 1 double crochet in the top of each stitch all the way around, and I'll meet you at the end of the round. I'm coming up to the end of the round, and my next step is now to work 3 more rounds of double crochet. So that's what I'm going to do at this point. I'm going to go and work 3 more rounds, and I'll meet you when I have those 3 rounds complete. I'm just finishing my final round of double crochet, and from this point I'm going to be working in alternating sections of granny stitch and double crochet until my sleeve is as long as I want it to be. And the good thing about this, you can just keep trying it on as you're working, and then once your sleeve is the length you want it, you can stop and we'll come back and add the ribbing. I am going to work until my sleeve is sitting just above my wrist bone, and then I'll come back to add the ribbing. My sleeve is now at the length where I want it to be, and now it's time to add the ribbing. So to add the ribbing, I'm going to be working the applied ribbing method. So I'm going to work 2 foundation rounds before starting the actual ribbing. My first round is going to be a round of decreases. I'm going to decrease my stitches by half. So I'm going to be working single crochet, 2 together, all the way around. So I have my loop on my hook and I've already closed the round, so I'm going to chain 1, and I'm going to insert into the same stitch that I worked my slip stitch to close the round, yarn over, pull up a loop, into my next stitch, insert my hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through all 3 loops, and I'm going to do that again. My next 2 stitches, I'm going to work a single crochet, 2 together, so into the next stitch, insert my hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, into the next stitch, insert my hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, 3 loops on my hook, yarn over, pull through all 3 loops. That's how I'm going to work all the way around. So I'm going to work single crochet, 2 together all the way around, and I'll meet you at the end of the round. I'm coming up to the end of the round. I have 1 stitch left, so I'm just going to work a single crochet in that last stitch, and then I will slip stitch to the top of my first stitch to close the round. And now for my next round, I'm going to work 1 single crochet in each stitch all the way around. You could work the applied ribbing right onto this round. I don't like to, because the tops of the single crochet 2 together are usually a little bit wider than regular single crochet, so I just like to work a round of single crochet just so I have nice neat stitches when I start my ribbing. So I'm just going to work into my first stitch, 1 single crochet, and then into each stitch all the way around I will work 1 single crochet. So go ahead and do that, and I'll meet you at the end of the round. I am at the end of my round, and now I will start my ribbing. So I'm just going to slip stitch to my first stitch to close my round, and now I'm going to chain about 2 inches. So I'm just going to chain and then measure out so that I have a chain that is 2 inches long that's attached to the sleeve. So I'm just going to go 1, okay, so I've made my chain and I measured it out and it's 2 inches long. So now it's time to start working my ribbing. And I'm going to be working the single crochet in the back loop only, 1-to-1 ribbing. So I will skip the first chain and work a single crochet under the back loop of the next chain. So just working under the back loop of each chain all the way down. And once I've worked into my final chain, now I'm going to slip stitch to the wrist so that I connect the ribbing to the wrist. And I'm not going to slip stitch into this first stitch that I already worked into. I'm going to slip stitch into the next 2 stitches. So that is 1 and 2. And now I'm going to turn. And when I turn, I always bring my yarn up and over the ribbing just so I can catch it. Otherwise it gets trapped and it's hard to pull up. So now we're going to skip the next 2 stitches. So these 2 slip stitches, we're not going to work into them. We're going to go directly back onto the ribbing and work into this first stitch under the back loop and into each stitch all the way up the row. And when we get to the end of the row, we'll chain 1, turn, and work our way back down. So working single crochet under the back loop all the way back down. And once we get to the end of the row, we're going to slip stitch to the next 2 stitches and then repeat what we just did. So that's 1 slip stitch, 2, and now we'll turn our work and work a row going up under the back loop, coming back down, slip stitch to the next 2 stitches and repeat. So go ahead and repeat that all the way around and I'll come back to show you how to close the round. I'm almost finished my round. I have 1 stitch left, which means I have 1 more row of ribbing to work. So I'm going to slip stitch to that final stitch, turn my work, and work my final row of ribbing. And now I'm not going to fasten off. I'm going to chain 1, and now I'm just going to slip stitch the 2 ends of the ribbing together to close everything up. So to do that, on my finishing row, I'm going to go under the back loop of this stitch, and on my starting row, I'm going to go under the 2 loops of that stitch and then work a slip stitch. And that's how I'm going to work all the way down under the back loop of my final row and under the 2 loops of my first row. So I'm going to do that all the way down the ribbing. And once I've slip stitched all the stitches together, now I will fasten off. And then after this, so this side is now complete. Now I just have to go and make my second side. Once I have my second side complete, then we'll come back, sew it together, and do the ribbing on the hemline and around the neckline. I've completed my second side and I have both pieces laid flat, and now I'm going to sew them together down the back of the cardigan. I've sewn my 2 halves together, and now I'm going to make my cardigan just a little bit longer before adding the ribbing. So to start, I'm just going to grab my yarn, make a slip knot, place the slip knot on my hook, and I'm going to start working in one of the corners at the front. It doesn't matter which side you start on, just start in one of your corners at the front of your cardigan. And with the slip knot on my hook, I'm going to insert my hook into the chain 2 space and then work a slip stitch to join my yarn. And now I'm going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to work 2 more double crochets into the chain 2 space here. So this is 1 and 2. And now I'm just going to work my granny stitch all the way around, and I'm going to meet you at the back where we have those 2 rows of double crochet to show you how to work across those rows. So go ahead and work your granny stitch until you get there, and I'll meet you there. I'm about to start working across the back here, and how we're going to do that, I'm going to work 3 double crochet into this space here because this was the last corner along the back of the cardigan on one side. So I'm just going to work 3 double crochet into this chain 2 space here. So that's 1, 2, and 3. And now I have 4 rows across here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to skip 1 row and then work 3 double crochet at the end of this row here. And I'll be working those 3 double crochets around this double crochet versus just into the side of the stitch. So I'm going to yarn over, and in between this stitch and this stitch, I'm just going to stick my hook into that space and work 3 double crochets. And now I'm going to skip this row and work 3 double crochet around this double crochet at the end of this row here. So skip this next row and then work 3 double crochets around this stitch here. And now I'm going to work into this chain space. And now I'll work into each chain space all the way across until I get to the front of the cardigan. So go ahead and do that, and I'll meet you at the end of the row. I'm coming up to the end of the row, and to finish off this first row, I'm going to work 3 double crochet into this chain space right here. That's 1, 2, and 3. And now for my next row, I'm going to turn my work. And for this row, I'm going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3. And now I'm going to work 3 double crochets into this space right here. So I'm going to yarn over and work 3 double crochets into this first space right here. And now I'm going to work 3 double crochet in each space all the way across until I get to the end of the row. So go ahead and do that, and I'll meet you at the end of the row. I'm coming up to the end of my row, and to finish off this row, I'm going to work 1 double crochet in the top of the chain 3 from the previous row. And now from this point, you can continue working your rows until your cardigan is as long as you want it to be. I'm going to be stopping here and then jumping into my ribbing. If you want yours to be longer, you can either continue working in just the granny stitch or do the same thing that we did on the sleeves and work a few rows of granny stitch and then a few rows of double crochet and continue working like that until your cardigan is as long as you want it to be. So if you're going to make yours longer, you can pause the video here, and when you're ready to work your ribbing, you can come back. Okay, so to start my ribbing, I am going to turn my work, and I'm going to chain 1, and I'm going to work 1 single crochet in each stitch all the way across. So in my first stitch, I'm going to work a single crochet, and now I'll work a single crochet in each stitch all the way across. So go ahead and do that, and I'll meet you at the end of the row. I'm coming up to the end of the row. I'm going to finish off by working a single crochet in the top of the chain 3. And now to start my ribbing, I'm just going to make my chain and then turn and start working. I'm going to make my ribbing the same length as the one on the wrist of my sleeve. So I'm just going to make my chain with the same amount of chains as I did on the wrist. Now I'm going to turn my work. And I'm going to skip the first chain and work a single crochet under the back loop of the next chain, and I'm going to continue working just like I did on my sleeve. So I'm going to work single crochet all the way down the chain. Now I'm going to turn my work, and I'm going to work a slip stitch in the next 2 stitches, skipping this first stitch here, working a slip stitch in my next 2 stitches. That's 1, 2, turning my work, and then I'm going to work single crochet under the back loop only, up my ribbing and then back down, and then I will slip stitch to the next 2 stitches. That's 1, 2, turn my work and repeat. So just continue working all the way across the hemline just like this, and I'll meet you at the end of the row. I'm just finishing up the final row of my ribbing, and then it will be time for me to move on to the front of the cardigan. So I'm working my last stitch, and then I'm just going to work a slip stitch and fasten off. To start the ribbing around the front of the cardigan, I am going to be doing exactly the same thing that I did along the hemline. I'm going to first work a row of single crochet, and I am going to start in my ribbing. So this stitch here at the very end of my ribbing, I'm going to start in that stitch. So I already have a slip stitch on my hook, and I'm going to work a standing single crochet in this first stitch. And then I'm going to work 1 single crochet in each stitch along the ribbing and around the front of the cardigan all the way around to the other side. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then I'll meet you at the end of the row. I have finished working the row of single crochet around the front of the cardigan. So now my next step is to make my chain and continue working my ribbing like I did along my hemline. So I'm going all the way around the front of the cardigan. So that's your next step. Just work your ribbing all the way around the front of your cardigan. Then you can fasten off, weave in all your ends, and then you will be done. And that is it, my friends. Now you have another cardigan to add to your collection. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Leave any questions you have in the comments below. And until next time, take care and bye for now.